A gap creates motivation. A gap creates direction. A gap creates an ability for you to move in a direction that can be healthy. Okay, but we can't measure ourselves and our self-worth based on where we are versus our gap. We can't measure our self-worth based, where we are today versus the needs that we think that we have, the income need, the whatever need. We need to measure our worth based on the gain, based on being grateful for the gain we've already made in our life. How have you grown this past year? Where have you gotten better this past year? Or is your life different in some ways, better in some ways today than it was a year ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago? It might be worse in some ways than it was 5 years ago. It might be better. Be grateful for the gain that you've had. Take some lessons from that gain.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Carrot Cast. Now, the Carrot Cast, we're usually diving in doing interviews with amazing real estate investors, amazing real estate agents. Now, in these episodes, every Thursday, they're the Trevor Truck Talks, where you get to hear behind the scenes of the mindset shifts I'm going through as a CEO of one of the fastest growing companies in America, and the mindset shifts you can take to run your business and win back your freedom as well. Let's dive into this episode.
In the next 15 or so minutes, I'm going to talk about this one mental mindset shift that can completely change your day, completely lead you to more instant happiness, completely lead you to being grateful for the goals that you've set instead of having those goals be something that weigh you down and you end up resenting. And also just be this amazing model that goes in conjunction with something I talked about in a previous podcast episode called the gap. Today, I'm going to talk about the gain. Okay. So the gap and the gain is what we're going to talk about today. So if you're like me and you just finished up writing your goals, or maybe you're midway through the year and you're just now listening to this and you've got some goals that you'd written this year, and maybe you hit some of them. So congratulations. That's some gain. You just made some gain. Let's be grateful for the gain that you've made. And there's probably some goals that you haven't hit. And you're looking at those goals and going, man, these goals are actually demotivating now because I set these goals and I feel bad about it. I feel this gap between where I am right now and where I wanted to be toward this ideal. And I feel bad because I'm not there. I feel insufficient because I'm not there. I see other people around me hitting these goals and it feels like I should be hitting them too. And why? What's wrong with me? That kind of thought. And so I in 2021, I read more books this past year than I probably ever have in any single year. And also it's very directly correlated. I also grew personally this past year more than I ever had. If you hadn't listened to my end of the year recap, go check that one out. And then also carrot.com/epic. I give the full recap over there. Once again, you can watch this replay anytime during the year, but every single year at the end of the year, I do what I call my epic planning call. Give a recap of my year, my biggest mindset shifts, my biggest takeaways, and then my biggest lessons. And then I walk through my planning process. And my personal planning process, it's brand new this year. I took what I've been doing manually, have my graphic designer make a fancy PDF on it, and you guys can download it for free. Just go to carrot.com/epic. So if you guys just finish your goals, what you just created is something called the gap, which a gap is healthy. And we'll link up the episode that we did previously on the gap. The gap is a healthy thing because if we don't have a gap, if we don't have some distance between where we are now and where we want to go, it means we're stagnant. It means we're not growing. It means that we don't have anything that we're moving towards, and we're probably sitting stagnant. And just like the Bible says, and just like other things say as well, when things aren't moving, they become stagnant. And when things become stagnant, bad things can grow in there. Bad things can grow in those still waters. Okay. So we want to make sure that we're really feeding new healthy things into us all the time. Okay. And one of the ways to do that is by wanting to grow and growing towards something. Goals help with that. The opposite of that, though, goals can also do the opposite. Goals put us in something called the gap, which when you're in the gap, it's really easy to get depressed. It's really easy to get demotivated. It's really easy to not feel happy, not feel grateful. So I'm going to read this from this book called The Gap and the Gain. And this is one of the life truths. I've already got like 9 or 10 life truths written down from The Gap and the Gain, and I'm only halfway through it. So this is needs versus wants. Okay, needs versus wants. When you don't need what you want, you're actually far more enabled to get it. Okay, guys, so when you don't need what you want, and I'm going to talk about the nuance of that here in a second, when you don't need what you want, you're actually far more enabled to get it. So all of these things that you're charting out there in your goals, I want you to think about this. Do you need those things or do you just want them? And I'm going to dive deeper here in a second, okay? Are you actually, when you don't need what you want, you are actually more enabled to get the thing, whatever it is, whether it's money or a spouse or time or whatever it is, okay? You can freely perform and be on flow versus obsessing over how it'll turn out. Let me read that one again. Okay, that one hit me when I read it. You can freely perform and be on flow versus obsessing over how it'll turn out. Freeing yourself from unnecessary needs, you're finally enabled to create the progress in life you want. You're already whole and complete without those goals. You're already whole and complete, y'all. Like right now, the second you're listening to this podcast right now, you're probably listening to this podcast because you want to grow. You're probably listening to this podcast because there's something you want in life that you don't yet have, right? There's all things that we want in life that we don't yet have. But the one realization that I've had to have over and over and over again, whether it's through this book, The Gap and Gain, whether it's through, just someone talking about gratitude, and I'll talk about the gain here in a second, or whether it's through reading the Bible, whatever information you're soaking up, okay? There's lots of things that reference the amazing opportunity that we already have just to be alive. I just got out of my Wednesday morning Bible study with good friend and mentor Seth Hueckley, with Brady, who runs the podcast, and with friend Aaron, who goes to our church as well. And in our Bible study, one of the things that we talk about are cherries and pits. So cherries are what are the great things that are going on in life, and what are the pits? What are some of the things that are not going so great? And we just want to acknowledge. And one of the things that Seth shared was a friend of his and former business partner, actually not former business partner of his. It was a guy who was intricate in his big company that he sold a number of years ago. They both went off, started their own companies, and Seth invested in this other guy's software company, and it's starting to turn a corner. And this guy has a family, and he was diagnosed with, I believe it was pancreatic cancer, just within the last couple of years. And he got a call the other day that it sounds like he's just got days left now. He's just got days left in this life. And what makes me think, what I think of when I hear something like that is there's so many things that we're chasing in life. There's so many things in life that we might think that we need. We might think we need to hit this income goal to feel worthy. We might think that we need whatever it is, the spouse, right now. We might think that we need this car, need this watch. We might think that we, need to get X amount of followers. We might think that we need to start a business, buy a business. We might think that we need to get in shape, need to whatever it is, okay? What this is saying is when we need the thing and when we just hold it so tightly, hold that thing so tightly that we're like, oh my gosh, I need this in my life to be happy. I need this in my life to feel whole. I need this in my life to make myself fulfilled. As soon as we let that go and realize, hey, everything we need, we already have. We have a beating heart right now. We have air that we can breathe. Okay, there's opportunity out there. Okay, it's there. We have our faith in a higher power. That's what holds me. That's what makes me. So I'm not tied to these goals, tied to money, guys. As soon as you don't need money, money will find you. That's the crazy thing. When I was in my early days as an entrepreneur, I was like, man, I really need to make more money. It was honestly to feel worthy, because my wife in 2011 or so, my wife made more money than I do, and we had a kid at that time, and I needed to make this income to show and prove that I could support the family, that I was worthy, that I was valuable to the family over and above just me being there, right? And the funny thing is, as soon as I let that go, the money came. As soon as I didn't need the money and I just wanted it, the money came. As soon as I didn't need it to feel whole or fulfilled, the money came. The same thing happened in 2012 when I was just banging my head against the wall going, man, I need to find my purpose in life. Why am I here? Like, why the heck am I here? And I was just creating I was writing things down. And I was like, man, I'm waiting for that magical moment for just, something to tap me on the shoulder saying, hey, here's your purpose in life. And I've talked about it in previous episodes of the podcast here. But one of the things that I decided to do was I decided to not need that anymore. I just said, maybe my purpose is just like to be the best I can be. Maybe that's it. And I let that need go. And I said, yeah, I'd love to find my purpose eventually, like be really convicted on it. I want it, but I don't really need it. Okay. And I let it go. And the crazy thing is over the next 2 years, next 3 years, I found my deep purpose. I want to help you guys and gals avoid what I've done in the past. I want to help you guys and gals build businesses of freedom so that you can make the greater impact in the world. It's not about the money, guys. It's about the freedom so that you can go do things that impact other people in a positive way. So you can use business for impact, not use business just for the income and for ego. Okay, guys. So I'm going to read this again. Then we're going to wrap this episode. There's two things called the gap and the gain. When we create goals, we create a gap. When we create a vision, we create a gap. That's a good, healthy thing. It gives us something to move towards. It gives us motivation. A gap creates motivation. A gap creates direction. A gap creates an ability for you to move in a direction that can be healthy. Okay, but we can't measure ourselves and our self-worth based on where we are versus our gap. We can't measure our self-worth where we are based, where we are today versus the needs that we think that we have, the income need, the whatever need. We need to measure our worth based on the gain, based on being grateful for the gain we've already made in our life. How have you grown this past year? Where have you gotten better this past year? Is your life different in some ways, better in some ways today than it was a year ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago? It might be worse in some ways than it was 5 years ago. It might be better. Be grateful for the gain that you've had. Take some lessons from that gain. And the second that I switch from being in the gap, from thinking in the gap to go, oh man, I've got to show up to work today and we're so far behind goals and we're so, momentum is not where I want it to be. And man, I've got to work through these issues that aren't solved yet. That's all being in the gap. And when you're in there, things feel heavy. Things feel heavy. When you're in the gap, things feel like, oh man, like I don't even want to show up to do the work today. When you're in the gap, things are not fun. When you're in the gap, that's where stress can come in. When you're in the gap, that's where depression can come in. And I want you to recognize when you're feeling down, when you're feeling heavy, and ask yourself, why? And it's usually because you're probably sitting there looking at where you are today and going, I have so much further to go. And you're measuring yourself against that ideal, that thing that's going to continually move on you. Okay. Instead, the second you notice that, let it have a trigger in your mind to go, okay, you know what? There's some goals I'm going for, which I'm grateful for. That's so I can grow. That's for inspiration and motivation. That's not to measure myself on. I don't need those goals. I don't need that money. I don't need those things. I want them. And that want is going to be motivation, but I don't need them. That's not what I'm basing my self-worth on. Let me now base my self-worth on that I'm already whole. Okay, like this says right here. Guys. Let me read it again. You're already whole and complete without those goals today. Because you have grown, because you have gained in certain ways that we need to acknowledge and love the life of continual growth. I talk about another episode. I talk about the infinite game. We'll link up that episode. The infinite game versus the finite game. The finite game is measuring ourselves against other people. It's a zero sum game. Basically, it's like, hey, either I win or I lose. Okay, an infinite game is you hitting certain goals and basing your worth on the hitting those goals. The infinite, that's the finite game. The infinite game, guys and gals, is where we want to go. It's saying, you know what, I'm in this for the growth. I don't need those goals. I don't need that money. That would be nice. Yes, I want it. Okay, but I'm in it for the growth. And when you're in it for the growth, when you're in it for the gain, when we acknowledge the gain, guys, that's when things unlock. That's when it gets fun again. That's when we truly get the freedom. That's when we actually get the money. That's when we actually get the girl. That's when we actually get the fitness, the health, the whatever it is. You're doing it because you want it. You want that growth. But I want to tell you, you're already whole. Okay, so I'm going to read this whole thing again. Needs versus wants. When you don't need what you want, you're actually far more enabled to get it. You can freely perform and be on flow versus obsessing over how it'll turn out. Okay? When we need the thing, we obsess over how it'll turn out because we think that that thing is going to be a trigger for us. It's finally going to open up our lives and make everything better. When we just want the thing, that's motivation. That's desire. Okay, that's a good thing. Freeing yourself from unnecessary needs, you're finally enabled to create the progress in life you want. Now, guys, I'm not talking about food, shelter, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. At the very bottom of it, it starts with literally food and water, and then it goes up to shelter and things like that. Then it goes up to other things, okay? I'm not talking about those needs. Those needs you need. Like, we desperately need food. We desperately need water. We need good, safe shelter. Okay, work your butt off to cover those needs. But over and above that, once we've got food, shelter, relationships, things like that taken care of, everything else financially after that, guys, should turn into a want, not a need, okay? You're already whole. I'm going to go get my workout in. I'm going to go move my body on my Wednesday mornings. I get up 6:15 a.m., a Bible study with great friends, then I go record a podcast on my phone, then I pop back in there for a workout, and then kick off the day. We're working on buying a company. I don't need the company. I want the company because I want to learn how to grow as a leader better. Okay, I want to learn how to grow. I want to plug in more value for our customers. I want to plug in more value for you guys. So us as Carrot, we're already whole, but you know what? We want this because it's going to help us and help you guys grow. So that's the biggest challenge I'm tackling today, guys. All right, freeing yourself from unnecessary needs. You're finally enabled to create the progress in life that you want. Guys, have an amazing rest of the week. If you're listening to this around the new year, thank you guys for listening. I want to just show my gratitude and appreciation for how much love I receive every single week from you guys and gals listening to this podcast. I get DMs. I get people screenshotting the episodes and post them on Instagram. And do that. Screenshot the episodes, post them on Instagram, screenshot the YouTube videos, post them up, because it helps me share those puppies out, get this message out to more people so we can change more lives, guys. That's our mission. We want to impact more people, okay? Share this up if you're getting any value out of it. Add a review if you're getting any value out of it. I read every single one of those reviews. And here's a couple of resources for you guys and gals to kick off the year. Once again, go to carrot.com/epic to check out the replay of the Epic Planning Call and help you jumpstart that year if you don't already have a yearly plan. Or if you're listening to this midway through the year, listen to it anyway and get your personal plan together, get your business plan together, okay? And then not last, but the energy audit, y'all. Okay, the energy audit is going to be a big thing to help you focus on the wants versus the needs and move towards any energy. Go to carrot.com/energy and download our free energy audit. It can change your life the way that it's changed mine. Guys, I want to help you grow this year. Make sure every single Thursday, right now we've got a live show going on our Facebook and our YouTube. So go over to YouTube, go to our Facebook channel, Carrot YouTube, Carrot Facebook, and subscribe over there, because every Thursday right now, or it'll be every other Thursday eventually, we've got our Behind the Deal show, where every other Thursday we walk through a very specific deal that came from a Carrot customer, how the lead came in. We show a video of the deal, them walking through. We talk about the negotiation of it. We answer questions and we bounce every other Thursday on YouTube, on Facebook Live. Right now, we're wrapping up something we call 60 Days to a Deal. About a month ago, we started a journey to launch a new ad campaign in a brand new market to see if we can't pull in a deal, okay, to see if we can't pull in a deal from it. We're about a month through. We've got some leads, no deal yet, but we're going to do an update this Thursday. So, guys, either way, check out our YouTube, check out our Facebook. We've got new content series that are going to be coming out all the time, a lot more content to help you guys change your business, change your life. We'll talk soon. I'm going to go grab a workout. Take it easy.